All right, good evening, everybody. Hello, my name is Paul Niblock. I hadn't expected so many people to come, so wish I'd ironed my shirt, actually. Feel a bit. Yes, thanks for joining. I did this talk at UX Scotland in the summertime. I don't know if anybody was there. Any hands at that event? No, it was a great event. Oh, hi. Yeah, I'd recommend if you are around in the summer to go to that. But yeah, so I just wanted to share the journey of what it took for us to launch a design system. So today I'm just going to take you through that. So have to do 2 clicks, so I'm trying to get my head around that. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm Edinburgh based. I've lived here for about 17 years. I've been a designer for about 15 of those years. Multidisciplinary background, so started in brand, did a bit of motion, then moved into the digital side of things. I have a keen interest in inclusive design as well, so it's a big part of my role in Royal London. Love music, sewing and eating, so making food, eating food, talking about food. Anybody into that, give me a shout. But yes, I work for a company called Royal London, so I thought it'd be worth just talking a bit about that because it sets the context for the rest of the talk. Sorry, I'll get this right. So that's little Gilbert there, our company icon. Royal London offers long-term savings and protection in the UK and Ireland. This started way back in 1861, and they're mutual. So what that means is we, rather than pay as shareholders, we reinvest into the company and also redistribute some of the profits to our customers. So that really kind of helps us bring customers to the centre of what we do. We've about 4,232 employees. That goes up and down quite a lot. And we've got 5 kind of major public websites and then 50 digital products within that and then a mobile app, just to kind of give you an idea of the sort of thing that we're looking at. So on the design team, we've got head of digital, we've got 8 UX on the team, 4 digital designers. We've got a front-end developer, an accessibility consultant. Like I said, we're making a lot of emphasis on making everything accessible in the company. And we've also got a accessibility QA on the team. So we're quite privileged to have that because it comes up quite a lot and it's a very specific topic. So also to mention, we'll be recruiting next year, so we're looking for a front-end developer and some new designers. So if anybody's interested, just drop me a line or speak to me afterwards. But before we start, I just wanted to kind of take a bit of a reality check. So can I just check in the room who works on design systems? Yeah, great. And who's kind of building a design system at the minute or planning? Yeah, good. Okay. Well, hopefully you find something interesting in the talk then. So, the truth about building design systems is it's really hard. It's really hard work. So I thought I'd start off by saying that you hear a lot about the great benefits of design systems and how they are great for companies, but actually the harder side of it isn't really talked about so much. I went to a design system conference called Converge earlier this year, where Amy Hupe spoke about design systems and burnout. And I thought it was a really interesting kind of topic, so I thought I'd share a bit of her wisdom. Yeah, she talked about the story about Sisyphus. It's a Greek mythology, so bear with me. So Greek mythology, Sisyphus was kind of punished to eternally push a rock up and down a hill. And she likened that to building design systems. The task is repetitive and it's futile, it's never ending and ultimately, meaningless. So So she does go on to say, those of us that work in design systems, she likens this to salmon as well. So we're constantly kind of swimming upstream against lots of opposing forces. Yeah, I thought we'll get the grim stuff out of the way and just talk about that. So really, when we, to give some examples, they take time to build, to design, build, and maintain. So they rely quite a lot on engineers. Engineers are quite expensive, they're hard to come by. So yeah, there's a heavy reliance on them. There's lots of stakeholder engagement. I'm not great at it, I'm getting better at it, but you'll have lots of kind of challenging people along the way as well, so it's worth mentioning that. So, people will say, why does it have to work in a certain way? We want a super bespoke thing, why can't we do that? So you'll get lots of those challenges along the way. And then finally, is governance. We're a financial services company, so as you can imagine, we've got lots of governance and processes that we need to adhere to. So we find that that's kind of slowed down the progress and uptake of the design system. So really, all of these things kind of rely on one thing, and that is money. So we need lots of money to keep these going. So investment is the big key to successfully launching a design system. I'm not saying we've done it perfectly, but I'll take you through the process of what we've gone through. Yeah, so, not getting used to this double clicking. It's like rubbing your belly and tapping your head. Okay, so we've made several attempts at making design systems over the years. So some of those had successes, some had failures. But I'm going to take you through these 4 steps of what we did to kind of get onto to get to where we are. And the first step is around setting objectives. So setting objectives really does set the groundwork for everything you're going to do in the future. So these should be clearly defined. They should be specific about why you need the design system. They'll help you build a picture of what the future will look like with them without the design system in place. Like I said earlier, you'll have loads of opinions as well, so you get lots of kind of feedback from people, and definitely encourage that. But having these objectives will give you something to reflect back on and say, right, are we doing the right thing? So yeah, definitely, they're very important. So a point that I kind of started the journey on was talking about trying to sell the design system. So companies who invest in design at 32% more sales and 56% overall higher returns to the shareholders. So dry figures, right? Probably not things that we think about in the room, but actually the people that we need to speak to do think about these things. So it's quite a valuable kind of thing to have some statistics on these. So so selling the design system to people like the board members, things like that, I'm not really used to doing that. But as a designer, you've got like things in your tool set that you can use to kind of help that. So those are things like research, storytelling and visualization. All of these things are kind of in your toolkit to help you sell your design system. So about setting your objectives. So first of all, you want to think about doing your research early in the process. So same with any product that you would come across. So you find out the user pain points, like speak to your engineers, for example. What do they have to their hand as their toolkit? What don't they have? Like what blockers do they have? So all of this stuff will help you build up a picture of kind of what's working and what's not. Some of the things that I discovered along the way was that there's a lot of siloed working. So we said there's 7 locations, for example. So that means there's people working all over the country. It meant a breakdown in some of the communication. So one team is building something, another one's building something very similar, but not the same. So it just leads to a lot of waste and a lot of repetition. So draw on your own experience. We've all had previous jobs, so I think it's really valuable to think about what's worked in the past for you, what's not worked, and you can use that as put that down to your own experience, and that does help you kind of build a better picture of how you want to progress in the future. So just talking about history, so we're, like I said, we had 3 attempts at design systems, so I was just going to cover those off quickly. So the first one, we had user experience pattern library. So it was actually Mike was one of the UXers that set this up initially, so I was going to give him a shout out, but he's not here. Maybe he's listening online. So yeah, this was a concept that was taken into the business by 2 UXers. There was lots of great documentation. They got some funding to document it and put it online, but quickly they moved on to project work, and it kind of got a little bit lost within the business. Second one was called the Pension UI Kit. So this was like a supercharged digital brand guidelines that was built in Bootstrap. It had all the basic things like icons and typography and all that good stuff. But it was kind of light on the documentation side of things. If someone wanted to use it, they weren't really sure how to use it. So it was more of a kind of developer-led piece of work. Then the third one, we had digital interaction guidelines. So this was built to manage a huge program of work. There was like 12 teams all trying to build the same thing. And we quickly realized that we need to centralize all of this stuff. So there was loads of high quality components and loads of documentation, and it was built on Bootstrap again. However, the program of work quickly kind of lost funding, moved on. A rebrand came along, and then nobody wanted to use it. So, it was all tied into this single program of work. So, just to recap, so the first one I think was probably too design focused. There we go. The second one was engineer led, and then the third one is probably the scope was too narrow, so nobody else in the business could access it and use it. And so, we can all learn from that though. So, like I said, you're kind of drawn on your past experiences. So yeah, I use them to help us set our own objectives. Sharing with stakeholders. So I think the whole time when you're kind of building a design system, you'll have a lot of people that you need to speak to. So this is a good time to kind of get collaborators, get people on side. And in particular, kind of engineers, so any developers that you have, make sure that you're kind of sharing your objectives, sharing all of these findings, because they'll definitely be keen to kind of follow you on that journey as well. So find your champion. So when looking for ambassadors, seek out people who can stand up for good design. I thought this was a great quote. Because you'll probably find, I in particular wasn't really used to going into boardrooms and things like that. So if you can, find somebody that you know that respects and kind of understands design and the benefits of it, and they can kind of help you move that along. Use your organization's objectives. So kind of with any research that you do, you want to use the user's kind of language. So I kind of took that concept as well when I was thinking about these objectives. Royal London have their own objectives, so what I was trying to do was tie the business objectives to the design systems objectives, so that if we were meeting the business objectives, the design system's helping those teams. Everybody okay? Okay. Getting rowdy at the back. So just the
Royal London objectives. So we're a digital first organisation and use data to, I'm having to read this, use data to improve our customer offering. So our kind of objective that kind of helps with that is having a design system reduces that friction throughout the product life cycle. So we offer a range of high quality solutions to meet the customer needs. So that the objective there for the design system was that the ability to create high quality and consistent digital journeys quickly, and I think quickly is the kind of key in that one. And then we ensure that relationships with customers can last for the rest of their lives. So here we've talked about users can access their services on their own terms whenever they want, however they want. So yeah, so gluing the success of the design system with the business objectives, I think, is a really good way to kind of introduce the idea to your organisation. So one thing we didn't do at the beginning was agree what success looks like up front. So we did spend a lot of the time kind of scrambling around, getting all of these objectives together, trying to speak to the right people. But one thing we didn't do was agree what good looked like for ourselves. So I definitely recommend having some goals for yourselves as you progress. So objectives. Top tip, so research the pain points that you have in the business. Use the company's objectives to your advantage and agree what success looks like. Okay. So moving on to communicate the benefits. So I've already said it's kind of hard to build a design system, but I do think that the benefits really outweigh the kind of these challenges. And it's probably important to think about the people that you need to speak to. And you'll meet loads of skeptics along the way as well, so you have to kind of just brace yourself for that as you go through. So I thought I'd kind of start thinking about the people that you will need to engage. So I just thought I'd list out the people that we had to engage. It'll be different in every other business, but just as an example. So we've got like the product team, so product owners, designers, project managers, these types of people. Then you've got the engineering side of things, so front end, back end engineers. You've got architecture, you've got QAs, and then subject matter experts, so like marketing, even customer services. So finding out what customers are kind of having trouble with. You're having to speak to a lot of people about these things, and you'll see there's a huge amount of people already, but I've not even mentioned like the senior management, brand, kind of risk, and all the other kind of governance people. So it's a huge amount of people that you do need to kind of engage with. So this sums up very nicely the conversation that I had along the way. So, some people are like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea, but that's not going to work for me. So I just wanted to kind of share some of the challenges that we faced along the way, and something to think about, when you kind of face into this. So how does the design system align with our strategic goals? So this is kind of product owner kind of speak that I heard quite a lot. So to win over product owners, I think they're kind of facing a lot of prioritization and time constraints a lot of the time. So try and think about that. So how will the design system benefit them? So from a time constraint point of view, they don't need to think about, is that the right button? Is the brand colors up to date? These simple things are kind of to do play in their mind. So you can tell them that, be reassured, we have all of this set up. Updates and maintenance. So one of the worries that we came across was the POs think that the design system is constantly going to be updated, which means work for them. So we just had to take them through our planning process and get them involved in that, so they understood what we were trying to achieve when we were trying to achieve it. So yeah,
good tip is just to involve them in that process. And then finally, so implementation challenge. So yeah, there will be upfront kind of effort in adapting the design system. But once it's in place, it's very easy for them to just maintain and use it. So yeah, addressing these concerns early and kind of trying to educate as you go really helps you win these stakeholders over. So the next one, so can't we just use material design? Surely it's better, you know, it's been built over millions of hours. So the developers, the developers have said this quite a lot, and it's fair, you know. I think they're halfway there and understand what a design system is all about. So then for engineers, how to win them over. So I think a lot of the feedback that we had was that there's a lack of flexibility with the design system. You're kind of given this very rigid kind of set of rules that they need to use, and that is a worry for them. You know, they want to pick the right solution for whatever they're building, and that's fair. So we have this approach of 70-30. So use 70% of the design system, the kind of colors and foundations, and the other 30% is your input. So what frameworks you want to use, what backend do you want to use, or you know, you can build your own nifty calculator or whatever it might be. So that really helped them understand what we're trying to do. We're not trying to constrain them. Learning curve. So I mentioned front-end frameworks a lot. So we saw more and more that there was more and more different frameworks being used in the business. So that meant a big learning curve for any of the developers. And how we're trying to resolve that is we've got one developer on our team who builds and supports the integration of the system. We are looking for a new person. And that other person ideally would be, there'd be one building the system and then the other one would be supporting the other teams in the business. So I'll skip over this one, but so just in the interest of time. So at the end of that, we've put together a mission statement. So this is more to ease people in gently to what we're trying to do. So we want to deliver engaging, inclusive experiences for our customers. The design system is a collection of code, design assets, and policies. Sounds exciting, right? And it supports product teams to deliver the high quality products and services. So we use this to introduce it to a lot of the people that I had on the list earlier that may not be as, sorry. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, so we use this to kind of introduce it to a lot of the people that we had on the list earlier that were maybe not as close to the detail of what we're trying to do. So then the agreed benefits. So consistency was a big thing, obviously. So yeah, consistency has got a lot to do with having good usability. So we had that at the forefront. It improves efficiency, so people can reuse what we have. Teams can build something quickly. Front-end agnostic, so it's removing all of those front-end frameworks. It's all kind of basic HTML and CSS, which helps the developers understand what we're trying to do. And then improves communication. So again, it's all about this, all of these different locations kind of working together. They've all this single resource instead of having to rely on the people in the building or teams close to them. So, I've rambled on quite a lot there. I hope you've all followed okay. But yeah, once you've got to this stage, it's important to kind of share these benefits with everybody that you've engaged with already. So always think about making them in a consumable way, so simplifying everything. So same as like a research project, so just simplify everything, share it with everybody that will listen, and yeah, you'll you'll eventually get collaborators and supporters. So yeah, I think I've kind of covered this, but yeah, understand individual concerns, craft the benefits, and just tell everybody about them. These are my top tips. All right, so agree a plan. So I just got a time check. Is it?
Yeah, 5-10 minutes.
5-10 minutes. Okay, right. Agree a plan. So here you want to you want to understand the whole estate. So like at the beginning, I told you about us having quite a big estate. So I think it's important to map out all the products and services available. Think about kind of all of the people that are involved with them, how they relate to each other. Understand visitor numbers, like is it accessible? Is it not? These are the things you want to be thinking about. And then visualize the digital estate. So this was really helpful to just explain the size of the problem that we're trying to tackle. So these are the kind of 5 public websites that I mentioned earlier. And then when you add on the kind of supporting microsites that are associated with them, and then beyond that, we've got the kind of authenticated products that we have. And this isn't all of them. There's a lot more. And then on top of that, you get like the internal services and HR and everything. So, it quickly kind of becomes quite a lot to deal with. So if you use something like a visual like this, it really helps bring to reality what we're trying to tackle. So document everything. So we did a detailed audit at the beginning. So what you want to do here is like note down interactions and inconsistencies with everything. Summarize and share your findings. Again, same as the visualizing the estate. It really helps illustrate the problems that everybody's facing. So findings that we had, so we had 12 button sets, and that's not like individual buttons, like groups of buttons. We had 7 different typefaces. We only have 2 in our brand. We had 9 error colors, so 9 different reds. It's crazy. So, and we didn't do anything fancy. We just put it together, screen grabs, kind of annotating to help illustrate the problem. But you can see here, even these validation. There's accessibility issues here. Some of the errors are below, some are above. Just lots of problems. But illustrating like this really helps visualize it and bring it to life. Here's the buttons. So all very similar, but some are square, some are rounded, some are bold, some, it's crazy when you start looking into this stuff. So I got quite caught up in kind of scoring all of the different websites that we have. So do they have good accessibility? Are they using the same buttons? Not everybody was so into that. I think eventually everybody had enough. But I think it is worth just noting that you can get really fixated on, documenting all of this stuff, but really bring it back to, let's simplify this. We need to share this with everybody. So try and, take a sense of the tone in the room. So once we had that, we used kind of Agile to help us pull all of those things together. So we just started with a group of Post-it notes, did an exercise to work out the high, low value versus feasibility. And then after that, we kind of numbered them, so in priority order, and give everything a bit of a description. So just trying to make it transparent for everybody about what we're trying to tackle. So top tips, understand your estate, document everything, and then create a backlog. So not a hard thing to do. Even if you're not familiar with Agile, it's all about starting small. Then finally, seeking funding, the fun bit. So I've mentioned a couple of times, I'm not familiar with business plans and kind of going to the boardroom and all of that stuff. But again, there are things to kind of that can help you pull this part of the pitch together. Again, using quotes from across the business. So the more design decisions you put off, the longer you delay them, the more expensive they're going to become. So again, if you're talking to these people that have the money, things like this really help to kind of illustrate, we need to act now, we need to do something about this. So back to the cross-functional team. So to seek funding for a team to get the design system off the ground, to go to someone and say, I need 15 people to do this job, you're going to get a no, right? It's going to be a straight away no. So think about who you really need on the team. If you haven't seen it already, Zero Height have a really good document that they put out every year. It's all about design systems and how they're evolving and who's involved with them. So it's how we document. This is from this year's. But it just talks about the team size versus how long the design system has been around. So this is just an average from across the world. So the first year we've got 2 designers, 2 engineers, product owner, and content person. And you can see it does start to build up. So there's resources out there to show you what everybody else is doing, and you can bring that to the business and say, these are examples externally. So the core team that we have, I would recommend you start with. We didn't, but we've got a product owner, got a UX designer, UI designer, content designer was the person that we missed. So we had a discussion just earlier about trying to write content for these things. It's not my forte. We do have other content writers in the business, so it's kind of asking favors of them. But going into next year, we're going to try and resolve that and get someone on the team. But they're really important. Developer, like I said, really important. And then accessibility tester as well. So a way to calculate savings, so what is the benefit of having a design system? You have to kind of do this cost benefit kind of analysis. Again, not my forte, but I got a bit of help thinking about this. So if you isolate some of the development costs in your business and say, so I got some feedback to see how much previous design systems helped the developers save time. So they averaged about 30% of their time was saved. So some maths. 3 developers, 2 testers over a day is this much. If you multiply that across 10 different teams, it's this much. Over a year, it's this much. And actually, that 30% over 2 years, that's almost £1 million in savings. Now, these aren't like real costs from my business, so don't be scared. I'm not sharing anything. I just put that in as a rough figure, but you can see that it does add up to a lot of money. So the benefits are really there. Another way to illustrate the cost benefit is looking at the components. So I said that the button set, we had 12 of them. So again, speaking to developers, asking how much a button set would cost. So they said it's 1 developer, 1 tester over 4 days, £2,400 if we're going to put a monetary value on some buttons. But if you then multiply that by 12 and say, right, are you happy spending 30 grand on some buttons across the business? So if you're speaking to people with the budgets, these are kind of good things to say to them. Okay, getting to the end. So yeah, seeking funding. So start small, but think big. So have an idea of who you want on your team, where you want to go in the future. But obviously you can't get all of that at the beginning. And do some cost analysis. So it'll be different for everybody, but hopefully you got some tips in there to kind of figure out where kind of you could start do some cost savings in your own company. And then just to recap, we've kind of covered this already. But yeah, so get your objectives early, keep them to hand, they'll be really handy. Craft your benefits and share them with as many people as you can. build that plan using Agile, I think is really good and an easy way to start getting a plan together. And then funding. So, like I said, like do some cost analysis. It is actually straightforward when you put your mind to it. And then just to finish, so I don't think design systems are a fad. I think it's clear that there's people in the room tonight. Hopefully, you've all taken something from this. I said it is a long, difficult road. There are difficult things to build, but don't let that discourage you. They are worthwhile. Use the skills you have, so the research, the visualization, the storytelling, all of these will be really useful tools for you. But yes, that is me. There's also some links there and books, so yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much, Paul. Does anyone have any questions for Paul? We've got 5 minutes. If you give me a wee second, I'll just bring the mic up to you.
It's on. Thanks for the speech. That was great. It was good to see you build up the process and how you got to your end result. Kind of liked how you had the cost section of a button. I wonder, it got me thinking, like, how do you offset that to say you will save X amount if you invest in 26K for this group of buttons, for example? That's my first question. And the second one, sorry, I'm taking up 2 questions. How do you tie a business objective to a design system? That's it.
Yeah, so the cost analysis thing. So what we were trying to illustrate is that you're kind of wasting money. So stop building 12 buttons. We can do that for you. We can take that money and do it, and then we can update that and keep that saving. I don't know if that answers your question. And then secondly, business objectives, they will be different everywhere. But what we were trying to illustrate is, they've got these grand kind of objectives that they're trying to create, or aspirations. And what we were trying to do is use them in parallel with what we were trying to do. So, digitally led and data nimble, that's what we are trying to do. So straight away, you're talking about digital there. We jumped on that bandwagon. We really kind of reinforced what we're trying to do. Like, this is going to be for not just your website, it's a mobile app. It's going to be for emails. It's going to be for, lots of different aspects of the business. So I think just really look at your business objectives and see what you can pull out from them.
Excellent, thank you very much. Time for one more quick one.
So thank you. And I had one question regarding I wrote it down actually. So as far as I understood, the design system that you've created for this company is more for the web, but how do you treat the mobile design system? Do you have it as separate, or is it some way connected to
Great
the
question.
web one?
Great question. So currently we do have a design system for web components. We do have a mobile app which is built on their own native platform, so iOS and Android. We're currently looking at design tokens to try and manage that and try and utilize that. But design tokens are, everybody says they're straightforward, but they're not. We're really trying to understand how we can kind of share them and how we can utilize them. Maria, who's working with me on the team, so Maria is working on design tokens just now. But I think design tokens are probably the way forward. I think with Android development, they could probably use them easier than with iOS. But even though they're not using the tokens directly from us, they can still use the design system documentation. So all of that documentation you have, even if you can't use the code, you can still benefit from understanding the UX and why to use things and why not to use things. So.
Excellent, thank you very much. We're going to take a little 5-minute break, so we can all give Paul a big thank you. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.